What's up, everybody? With a new integration to Warzone, of course, the meta completely shifts. All of the old guns go out of meta, and the new guns move into the meta, and that's what we're talking about today. Today, we are going to focus on long range. Yesterday, we talked about the perk meta. I'll link that video down below. Also linked down below is Twitch if you want to come hang out while I play Warzone, or Apex, or Red Sec, or a multitude of different other games. That Twitch is linked down below, as well as my Twitter and all my other social medias, including my single-player channel, my car, Instagram, TikTok, and YouTube channel if any of that interests you. Of course, I appreciate the support here, there, or anywhere. And so as usual, when we do loadouts, we're going to go through the different loadouts, and then we'll jump over to true game data briefly to just look at it more statistically for those that are interested. And I'll, of course, link true game data down below. Tony does great work, and he's been doing great work for a long time for the community, so make sure you go support him when you can. But anyways, let's go ahead and jump into these loadouts. So a lot of times I will do a sniper video on its own, or a sniper support video on its own, but there's only one really good sniper right now. Especially because they just had to remove the previous snipers for some bug at the time of recording this. And of the Black Ops 7 snipers, the only one that one-shot headshots is the VS Recon. So of course that's going to be our meta sniper. I stick with the default optic, and then I go monolithic suppressor to increase the bullet velocity. Now the damage range part isn't as important because it's one-shot headshot range, and nothing else helps you with bullet velocity, so we're going with the bullet velocity there. Plus it helps keep you off the mini-map. Then we go G-Force Barrel because of bullet velocity. The other bullet velocities are damage range and bullet velocity, or aim down sight speed, which you could consider the Nimbus Barrel. You could also consider the TAC Driver Barrel, but I don't think there's much aim idle sway or flinch resistance with just using the G-Force Barrel, and you get more bullet velocity, so it's kind of preference there between the G-Force and the TAC Driver Barrel. Then we have the Stedig C Handguard for the aim idle sway benefits, and like I said, with this loadout, there's like no aim idle sway, so we go with the Stedig C Handguard. Other things help with like movement speed. It's a sniper that's not too important, or horizontal recoil, it's not important at all. And if you prestige it, you could consider the MFSR hand stop for the rechamber stabilization, but I don't think that's really too important. Go with the Stedig C Handguard. Then I have the stable heavy pad for flinch resistance on the stock. As far as stocks, you can also go the Outpost Raider pad, but you don't get as much flinch resistance, and aim walking movement speed's not super important for sniping. And then we have the Light Bolt, which helps with your rechamber speed and your fire rate, and it does hurt bullet velocity. The horizontal and vertical recoil, not a big deal. If you don't care about the fire rate and you don't want to lose the bullet velocity, in fact you want more, you can go with the overpressured rounds to get more bullet velocity, but I like being able to fire more often. You can go with one of the magazines if you want more shots, or you can go the smaller mag and have have quicker reload quickness and aim down sight and fire. Aim down sight and fire, sprint to fire speed, but I don't think that's too important. I would rather focus on the aim idle sway and the flinch resistance, and upping the fire rate, and of course bullet velocity, staying off the map. The only other one is, I guess it's this one. You could go with the instant laser for aim down sight and sprint to fire, but I don't think that's important. And then rear grip, there's nothing that helps too much with sniping. I mean, there's the aim down sights and the sprint to fire speeds, but in Warzone, that's just not that important. So for sniper support, we have the DS20 Mirage. It's just the best overall sniper support now. If you're really aggressive and you don't mind losing out in the more mid ranges, and you just care about really close range, or you're going to snipe outside of that, you can go with an SMG. But overall, the best sniper support is the DS20 Mirage. Now, we don't have 8 attachments, so we have to skip out on the optic. I have the Redwell 556 compensator just to help with the vertical recoil. If you don't mind the recoil, go with the monolithic suppressor, but just remember you're losing aim down sight speed on an AR that's already going to be slower. You can also go with the VAS 556 suppressor. It helps with recoil stabilization, which is like the shake, but it doesn't help with necessarily recoil itself, and it keeps you off the mini-map, so you can go with either one of those. Then we have the 8.9 Westerly's barrel. So this is a unique barrel to the DS20 compared to some of the other ARs, but you get the recoil stabilization, plus you get horizontal recoil control, plus you get better mid damage range, so you can go with the Westerly's barrel there. You can also consider the Abdicator barrel, which gives you more bullet velocity and vertical and horizontal recoil control, but I like the extended mid damage range, and you still get horizontal recoil control and recoil stabilization. So go either with the Westerly's barrel or the Abdicator barrel. Just note the Abdicator barrel does hurt your aim down sight speed and your sprint to fire speed, but both of them work. I like the Westerly's barrel. Then for under barrel, we have the Sapper Guard hand stop that helps with movement speed, sprint movement speed, and helps a little with horizontal recoil control. If you're really worried about the recoil control, you can go up to the Force Stabilizer grip, which gives you a lot more horizontal recoil control, but I don't think it's too important. And then other things I just don't think are worth using over them. You could consider, if you're going to hip fire a lot, the Strider hand stop, but either go with the Sapper or the Force Stabilizer for your underbarrel. Then magazine, we have the extended magazine 1. You can go up to the Griffin Reserve extended magazine 2 to get even more. Get 60 rounds, but you're really hurting your aim down sight and your movement speed. And since it has to function in SMG kind of capacity, I just choose to go up to 45 and not hurt my aim down sight speed as much. And then finally, I went with the Assault Division stock for my last attachment because you get movement speed bonuses. As far as other movement speed bonuses, there's not any on the stocks. So if you want some recoil control, you can go with the weighted stock. You can also go with the Trunk MX stock to get recoil stabilization and recoil control. But there's just not a lot of recoil within the range you're going to use it for the DS20. You could go recoil sync unit, which is your recoil springs. You could also drop the stock if you want an optic, like the Lethal Tools ELO, which is very small. And doesn't take up a lot of screen space. One note before we get off of the sniping class, if anybody is running the Survivor perk, you can't one-shot headshot them. So it makes sniping a little less effective, but if you like to snipe, that's the sniper loadout I would go with. So now we're moving into more normal long range. We have one LMG class on here. If you like using LMGs, there's only 2 to pick from BO7, and only one of them is really good, and that is going to be the LMG that I can now not remember the name of. The MK78. So, optic here, I left the Greaves on here to talk about it. It's 3 times. It helps with recoil gun kick, but I just think it's so shaky. The guns feel a little bit shaky, so I've gone down to the 2 times. When I predicted the meta, I went with the 3 times. I've gone back down to the 2 times for the most part. It zooms in enough. It's got a better reticle. The visual recoil is less magnified by it. So then we go to RL compensator for the muzzle to help with the vertical recoil control. If you don't mind the recoil on it, go with the monolithic suppressor. Just remember, you're now lowering an aim down sight speed on an LMG, but it helps you with the bullet velocity and damage range. But I prefer the compensator for the recoil. You can also go with the Greaves A762 to help with a little recoil stabilization and stay off the minimap, maybe for ranked, but I'm using the RL762 compensator. Then we have the EAM heavy barrel down here. Vertical and horizontal recoil control and bullet velocity. If you don't want to hurt the aim down sight and sprint to fire, I would consider this Mach 78 barrel, which is another one of those mid damage range horizontal recoil control, recoil stabilization barrels. Hurts your bullet velocity, but it's also a very good option at barrels. If you don't care about recoil control at all, you can go with the Titan hybrid barrel to get damage range and bullet velocity. You can go with the Moon barrel to get damage range. And, you know, if you just want some more aim down sight speed, you could go with the Skylance barrel, but not really worth it. I would either go with the EM heavy barrel, the Mach 78 barrel, or the Titan hybrid barrel based off of preference. But I would go with the EM heavy barrel because you do get bullet velocity, vertical and horizontal recoil control, and those are nice to have. Then we have the Bowen Century foregrip for horizontal recoil control. You can also go with the EAM steady grip because you get movement speed plus horizontal recoil control, so that's an option as well. The other options are just okay. I don't think they're really worth using. Then it comes down to the last attachment. Normally go magazine, and if you want some faster ADS, reload quickness, sprint to fire speed, you can go all the way down to the Fast Mag 1, the Swift Feed Fast Belt, and that'll give you 65 rounds still. I just ignore it. Some people are using the belt fed because you don't have to like reload, but you lose a lot of ADS speed. You get the horizontal recoil control, but I just don't like it. So I go no magazine, and I go with the shock shield stock for more horizontal vertical recoil control. Considering LMGs are a little bit slow, you can go with the bow and light stock to get aim down sight and aim walking move speed. You can go with the Charon Sharon light stock, get more movement speed in general. There's a few different ways if you want to go stock. You can also go with the Swift Guard stock for recoil stabilization, horizontal vertical recoil control. But you get more actual recoil control with the shock shield stock. Another option, of course, is the recoil springs to get no negatives on your recoil control. Go with the stabilization grip to get more different type of recoil control. Trailblaze grip for ADS. Bow and thrust grip for sprint to fire. There's a few different options here, but I personally like this build the most. And so that's the LMG to recommend. Now moving on to ARs, we have AR number 3. The M15 Mod 0 has like the lowest TTK on this list, or I should say the slowest TTK on this list, but it's the easiest one to shoot on this list. The load's very similar. We have the 2x or your choice of optic. We have the Redwell 5.56 compensator for vertical recoil control. We have the reticulated barrel for horizontal vertical recoil control plus bullet velocity. You have the fusion barrel, which does damage range and bullet velocity. You have the Delta F2 barrel, which is that mid damage range, horizontal recoil control, and recoil stabilization. Also, I misspoke on the DS20. It's more unique to ARs, but mid damage range, horizontal recoil control, recoil stabilization. But I like the reticulated barrel. Gives you recoil control in both directions, plus gives you bullet velocity. Then we have the Access Shift Vertical Grip for the horizontal recoil control. Once again, if you are good with the recoil and you want some movement speed, you can go to the EAM Steady 90 grip. This also has the least recoil, like I said, on the list, so this is the easiest one to switch to this under barrel 2 to get some more movement speed. And then we have the Bow and Bulwark mag for 60 rounds. If you don't feel like you quite need 60 rounds, you can play a lot of solos and duos, you can go down to the Mayday Extended mag, get less ADS penalty. You only get 45 rounds, but it is an option. So that's how I would go with the M15 mod 0. You can do like a recoil springs, but I wouldn't. I would just leave it like this. This is the best 5 attachment build. Moving on to AR2. Now I thought about putting it this at number 1 because it's the best combination of being an AR, not an LMG, plus lower recoil, plus a good time to kill. I forgot to take the 2x off of that one, the 3x off of that one. Although it does not need as much because it's not as recoily. Same with the M15 Mod 0. But this has a little more recoil than the M15, but has a little bit lower TTK in the long range than the LMG on this list and AR number 1. But the DS20 Mirage is a very similar build to what we just talked about with the M15. Got the compensator. You can switch to monolithic if you don't mind the recoil. Then we have the 17.1 abdicator barrel, which once again is the recoil and bullet velocity barrel. You have the Westerlies barrel, which we talked about before. Because we're at longer range here, I wanted more recoil control and bullet velocity. You can switch to the Westerlies barrel. I liked that more for sniper support because of the mid damage range that you get extended out, which is great for sniper support, and we're checking for update. All right, now that the update is completed. So then we have we talked barrels. Now under barrel, once again, force stabilizer hand stop, give you the most horizontal recoil control. But if you are good with the horizontal recoil and you just want a little bit of control, go with the sapper guard hand stop like we talked on the sniper support, gives you the more movement speed. If you don't have any trouble at all with the recoil, you could also go Strider hand stop for more movement speed. But this is long range, so you want to have some recoil control. So I go with the force stabilizer. And then magazine Griffin Reserve Extended 2. Now we talked about it in this with the sniper support, going with the Andean extended mag to get less penalties and still have 45 ammo. Here, long range, you're going to miss more bullets. You want the 60 rounds, but you do get a movement speed penalty, a reload quickness penalty now, and a stronger aim down sight penalty. But you get 60 rounds. Go with the Griffin Reserve Extended Mag 2. And then finally, on to AR1 is the MXR17. Now, this has the most recoil on the list, although I don't think it's brutal. A lot of people are definitely using 1x, and I think some of that is for the recoil. I'm blind. I like the 2x. But other than that, it's pretty much the same build we've talked about. Redwell, 2x for me. The Redwell 90 compensator is for the vertical recoil control. If you want to deal with more recoil, want more bullet velocity damage range, go with the monolithic. Definitely harder to use. And the Graves gives you some recoil stabilization. No penalties. Keeps you off the map. I go with the Redwell compensator, though. Barrels. Greaves barrel, vertical and horizontal recoil control, and bullet velocity. You can do the mid-range barrel. You still get some horizontal recoil control and some recoil stabilization. Hybrid barrel if you want damage range, bullet velocity. Go with the Greaves Scourge barrel. It's the best barrel right now. Then we have the lateral precision, horizontal recoil control. Once again, you can go EAM steady 90 grip if you only want a little horizontal recoil control and some more movement speed, but I think I would definitely more strongly recommend the lateral precision grip on this than anything else. And then we have the Rhodes drum mag, get 60 rounds, same old, same old. You can go to the Vault extended mag, get less penalties, 45 rounds. But I go with the Rhodes drum. So that's our long range meta. Just go over it again. Snipers, VS Recon, DS20 Mirage. LMG is going to be the MK78. AR3 is going to be the M15 Mod 0. DS20 Mirage for AR2 and AR1. The best AR right now is the MXR17, although it is the hardest of the LMGs and ARs to shoot on this list. But it does have the best overall TTK profile, which we'll go look at true game data. If you're just here for loadouts, not interested in true game data, I do appreciate you hanging out. Thank you so much for watching. For the rest of us, we're going to go jump over to true game data. All right, so over at true game data, you can see I have all of the weapons except for the sniper and the sniper support here. I have all of the loadouts the same. Some of the names are incorrect on like the DS20 Mirage, and there's no magazine, which I'm sure Tony and team will go fix that shortly. But says the data is right. So we're looking at combination shots here. The DS20 Mirage does not have a great damage profile, but it's easy to shoot. The M15, this is on combination shots. The M15 mod here actually has a pretty good damage profile. That's when you're in combination. When you just look at chest shots, it falls off. Headshots, neck shots. And it's not as good up close, except for combination shots, because arm and leg shots are really bad for the DS20. But they're bad for the MXR too. But the MXR overall has the best damage profile here. When you consider ADS time on these builds, the M15 mod moves up to get worse because its ADS time is slower. And then when you go sprint to fire, it gets a little bit better. The M15's in a weird thing. I don't know if I necessarily believe the number fully here, to be honest, because it's so fresh and such new data. But the M15 feels like it kills slower. In the DS20 in it, they're pretty similar. But you should really be running the MXR. And if you're just looking for best long-range GTK and you don't like the MXR, probably the MK78. You just got to change your playstyle a little bit. But overall, I do think that I'm comfortable with where I put the ratings. When you look down here at ADS time, the Mirage has by far the fastest ADS. The bullet velocity is the best actually on the M15 mod. The MXR Mirage a little bit slower. The fire rate on the Mirage, on the M15, is about where I actually really like it with the 769, which helps its TTK for sure. I don't know if there's anything too important here. It's got the best hit scan range. The M15, it's just, it feels like it shoots peas. Some of this is a little bit of feeling, of course, but it just feels like it really shoots peas compared to the DS20 and the MXR. But really, at the end of the day, the MXR is what you should run. Learn to use the recoil. Learn to control the recoil. But that's the long-range meta. Of course, we will have our short-range meta coming up tomorrow. So make sure you like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell if you like this type of content and want to see it first, whether that's the next meta videos, Apex meta videos, game reviews, generally what we post here. If you want to see that first, make sure you subscribe and hit that notification bell, and comment down below what you think of my meta rankings, my loadouts, where you agree, disagree, whatever. I will see you on Verdansk and Haven's Hollow. Get frying. Have a good day. Bye.